Welcome everybody, welcome to Fundamental Forest, the series in which we take those scenario skills that we developed playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2 and we bring them into sandbox mode where we let our imaginations run wild. We have an absolute doozy of an episode today, something I'm really excited for. I get a taste of my own medicine today. Last week we were dishing out feedback with our office hours segment. We've got a new segment this week where we talk about how to take feedback. And that's a really important skill, not just when we're talking about our creative pursuits, be they Roller Coaster Tycoon, art, music, writing, whatever it is. It's just really good for life in general. There's going to be times and times and times where you need to take some criticism, or on the contrary, you need to inspect criticism and see if you need to accept that criticism. So we're going to be talking about that today. Luckily, our community is really awesome, so usually the criticism that comes through is just going to come down to whether you want to take the project in the direction that the other person is hinting towards. And for the most part, we are eager for people's feedback so that we can just make our thing better. So talking today about taking that feedback is going to be a really awesome way for us to develop our skills quickly. That means the park's going to be changing in some interesting ways because we are going to reflect on that feedback. Exciting, exciting. But I think that I really want to ask you guys right now, jump in the comments. I want to know what you guys want to see next in terms of the theming of the next area. I think the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to begin developing in this direction. So what do you think will be a good area to put here? I'm very eager to see what you guys think. And then of course, your interactions, be they likes, be they comments, subscribes, they go a long way to making sure this video is put in front of people who are just like you and me. It goes towards growing our community. And that ultimately is what we want at the end of the day. I don't want 1 million subscribers if none of them are going to be like us. It's much, much, much more valuable to me and everyone else that we just get good lovers of the game, people who are looking to get better, people who are just in it for the fun of it. That's what we want. I'm really excited to see what you guys think of this episode, so I'll just get out of my own way and let you crack on. On with the video. Right, we've got a little bit of a field trip on our hands. It's a very small field trip. We're going to go from Fundamental Forest to anydesigns.com. We're going to go over to New Element. Are you ready? Oh, that wasn't so bad, was it? Yes, this is anydesigns.com. This is New Element. And I posted this screenshot over here to advertise the episode. It's unfinished. It's not the sort of thing that I'd ordinarily share as a screen because obviously it's got there's a lot of easy things that you can point out needs improving. For one, there's no station on the main roller coaster. But there it is, and the done thing in this scenario is to give feedback on that screen, much in the same way as we did with our office hours segment. Something that I was so happy that you guys enjoyed. I was over the moon because I think it's a great way to make it a bit more community minded. It's not just me away in my corner. I can directly reflect with you guys about all that stuff. But the thing you've got to remember, I might give very good advice. That doesn't mean that I know everything. And you guys should never find yourself in a position where you think I know everything. I'm definitely someone who makes a lot of mistakes. I'm someone who is always improving, and that's kind of built into the DNA of Fundamental Forest, really, isn't it? Because one of those fundamentals that I'm always harping on about, and you guys are sick of me saying it, iteration, iteration, iteration. We go back, we revisit stuff, and we continue improving. And one of the best ways to continue that improvement is to look to your peers. Find people whose opinions you can find valuable. And bear in mind, the word I'm using here is opinions, not facts. when you share your work, there's going to be a subjective level to it. And some of those things can be like articulated in a way that's like it's a really good, solid rule. But the best players will break those rules. And we know this. And all that is to say, we approach criticism in the way in which it's given. They're trying to help us, and you don't have to accept everyone's help if you don't feel like that's the right thing to do. And recognizing that is one of the key ways to make sure you're not seeing someone criticizing you and you get upset about it, thinking, oh man, I'm really messing this whole thing up, and you're not looking at it and saying like the exact opposite and closing up, getting defensive and saying, well, hold on a minute, the screen isn't finished. Hold on a minute. Well, I have an idea for this. I've not yet put in the screen. Hold on a minute. Your opinion's bad. You are looking from that person's perspective when they give you that comment, and it's a different perspective. So with that being said, let's look at posix. Now I was very surprised because I was coming back to this comment after ruminating a little bit on it and thinking, oh goodness, there's still a lot of progress to be done with this section, and posix has just pointed all that out, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do about it? You know how it can be sometimes when you've got a creative thing. It made me really reflect on the area, and I came back to read it again and to see what we can take from it. And I saw that there was a little bit of a discussion that had gone on in the intervening time, and that's the really great thing about New Element, guys. I keep saying, oh, come over to New Element. I hope that this is going to be one of those situations in which you guys can see what it is I find so valuable about this community. So let's have a read of posix's comment. Posix is someone I've always looked up to. They are a fantastic knowledge. Their advice is always detailed, as we're going to see here, and they approach the community with a sense of pride and a high standard, and that's because they've been an admin of the site for a really long time, so a leader in the community, and they always have that leadership perspective that I always really admire. So let's go ahead and read this comment. If I can be honest, Sam, I think it looks spammy and lacks cohesion. The coaster track interactions are too tight and feel stressful rather than inviting. The big ghost train building, while indeed having nice archy, blocks the view onto what is a pit interaction with water and fountains behind it. The entrance to the flyer behind would benefit from a bit more room, in my opinion. I think layering it with the view onto the ghost train isn't advisable, as you're looking at two important ride offerings stacked vertically on top from this camera angle. The blue and purple I reckon were bold experiments. I'm not sure they quite work. I would honestly say you may want to re-macro this and find a bit more stylistic clarity and cohesion. So that's a lot to take in, and a lot of people might see that and think, oh, I've got a real dressing down there. But for me personally, because I've been in the community so long and I have observed the best players take these comments and go on to improve, it's exciting to be challenged by somebody who says, I think you've made some mistakes here, and here's why. And they give you a detailed example of their point of view. So let's have a look at that comment and start to take it piece by piece. It's a big chunk of text for our purposes right now, so let's just take it little bit by little bit. I think it looks spammy and lacks cohesion. So that's sort of like the thesis of what they're saying, and then they're going to go into the details of what's going to go on. So what does it mean to say it looks spammy and lacks cohesion? What that basically means is it looks carelessly thrown together. To spam something is to not be meticulous, to not be detailed, but to just do it, throw it out there. It's like if I were to spam trees, for example, I'd just go like this. I just go. So that's spamming trees. So think of that, but with buildings. So it looks carelessly done, and it lacks cohesion. So cohesion is all about togetherness, isn't it? If something's cohesive, it's all working together as a cohesive piece. So this isn't striking that balance for posix. The big ghost train building, while indeed having nice archi, thank you posix, blocks the view onto what is a pit interaction with water and fountains behind it. So what posix is trying to get at there is, despite the fact this is all very well and good, this is a nice building, what's going on behind it seems like it should have more of a weighting. It should have a higher place in the hierarchy than what it's getting, because right now it's hidden. But this is an exciting moment. It goes down into the pit, it's got fountains, and yeah, we can look at it from this perspective and see what's going on. It's almost like a trench run from Star Wars, isn't it? It dips down, it comes flying out. It's all very well and good, but it's obscured from this perspective. And this could be remedied by moving this a bit more this way, if that's the sort of avenue we want to take when addressing this issue. But from posix's perspective, it seems like there should be a lot more limelight given to something which in this case is obscured. And you're looking at two important ride offerings stacked vertically. What is meant by that is probably, I think that's a pretty good explanation. I think that says it on the tin. We've got our ghost train here, and right above it is another key feature. And it seems like these two things, from this angle, are fighting with each other for dominance in this perspective. And I think that's a pretty good point, and it's not really something we've discussed very much on the series so far, so I'm really glad that posix has brought that sort of thing up. And then there's a little opinion on the colours. I'm not going to go too much into that, but posix doesn't seem to like the colours. That is what it is. I would honestly say you may want to remacro this and find a bit more stylistic clarity and cohesion. And all that is to say, you might want to reiterate, and we love iteration on this channel. So there it is, a little bit of tough love from our old friend there. But I think it's important, as we've been discussing, and I kind of want to take, like, maybe as like a theme of this episode, harp a little bit on the nature of taking criticism if you're looking to improve, and looking to improve quickly and effectively, and find your own personality within the hobby, and find your own perspective and voice. What you don't do is just instantly do everything that everyone tells you to do. That's obviously gonna pull you in too many directions, and you're gonna lose your personality and instead take on their personality. So the lesson I want you guys to take from this is to assimilate people's perspectives rather than be subservient to people's perspectives. So what you should be doing when posix gives you a comment like this, you should be looking at it from posix's perspective and taking from it what is useful to you. And there's a lot of useful stuff in there. That's a great comment. But you might get a comment that you really disagree with, and it comes at you like this: if I can be honest, Sam, I think it looks spammy and lacks cohesion. I think that's posix's perspective, and I can see it from that perspective, but I might be looking at that and thinking, hey, what are you talking about? I tried really hard on this, actually. I've spent weeks working on this. And that's true, by the way. You've seen me doing it as we've gone along, and I've really fought to get new stuff in here, and I've pushed through, and we've been talking about lack of motivation and stuff like that. So on the other side of all this work, I might be like, hey, bud, back it up. But instead, we don't take it personally because we're looking to improve, and instead we see it in the spirit in which it's been given, which is posix is sharing their opinion and they have valuable feedback. And that's really given us a lot to think about, to be honest. I think there is something to be said to maybe moving this. I think there's opportunity to pop it here, to be honest. So that's something that we might be considering moving forward. And we know how to copy scenery as well. So, and because this is all done without hacks, we can more than likely save this track design and it'll capture all of this stuff. So that's one perspective, but hey, posix's comment isn't the only one. We've got Scoopy here saying, I found this to be the best area of the park so far. So they were probably coming in and saying, oh, that's a bit of a dressing down from posix, I'll just come in and say like, hey, I actually like it. I like it the best of all the areas. Or it might be an even more severe beating down of Scoop saying, I agree with everything posix says, and you know what? The rest of it's worse. And here we have In Cities. We have Josh here. We'll just scoot through this comment. We don't want it to get too... We don't want this to turn into Smosh reads Reddit stories. Great work, Sam. Tons of excellent interactions, and the coaster layout looks sweet from what I can see. I do think Big P makes some great points in his comment above. I understand the theme you're going for, and I also understand the effort in creating a high-density area. I think you've mostly succeeded here, as it's certainly high density, but unfortunately it does suffer from readability. Hierarchy-wise, the flyer entrance and station aren't given enough room to breathe. Stacking it behind the ghost train minimises its impact a bit, so we're returning to that point. This is getting reiterated by someone else whose perspective we really appreciate. Josh is a great builder, they've got a red name. You guys know what that means? With red name, if you saw in the Steve video, red name means they've got above 85% on an accolade, which is a really challenging thing to do. So when you see those perspectives, you know it's coming from someone who has, at least in their own work, achieved very great things. That doesn't mean that they can communicate well, that doesn't mean that they can see from your perspective, it doesn't mean they understand your genre. This is why we must look at these comments through the lens of someone who's trying to help but doesn't necessarily have all the answers that we need, even when we are looking at it from our perspective here, where we really appreciate them, and it's great stuff. It's stuff we can use, and that's why we're discussing it. So yes, we've got the reiteration about the stacking of important things that distract from each other. What we don't want to be doing is distracting from either of these key moments. And we've got that hierarchy terminology used again, which I think is really good. If we have things that should be at the top of the totem pole clashing with each other, that's something we're going to want to change. If you're open to suggestions, the purple and pirate buildings on the right are in a great spot. I also like that plaza below with the dolphin statue. What if you make this section the entrance of the ride? Lockers on the bottom floor of the purple building, queue entrance between the two buildings, like an alleyway. You'd have to adjust the steps, but I think this opens up the ride entrance as something more purposeful and grand. Where the existing queue line meets the path could still work really great as an exit path actually, just a suggestion though. I also understand this is heavily work in progress, that's what WIP means, and large sections of the screen are not complete. That said, the macro is a bit challenging here, and stylistically it needs a bit of tightening up, reintroduce some elements and colour pops to balance it out a bit. Also, I really do love the purple building, and the little red one next to it with the stone walls that meet the path. Such a cool little area. That teal building on the far left also provides a great balance to the scene. So that's a really nice comment all in all. Really useful things, and we've got a suggestion of something we might change there. I'm not sure if I'm completely sold on that, but like I say, we've got time, we've got some things we can consider. They're giving heartfelt, genuine advice. They've taken the time to do it. At the very least, we're really thankful. Thank you, Josh. This is great stuff. And then we've got Otter here saying, a fellow green name. I'm also a green name, so I'm of the persuasion that Otter is better than everyone else here, because they're the same as me. Tend to agree with posix as well here. I think there's too much visual noise through the variety of textures you were using here. If you could space things out a little bit by cut and pasting some buildings a bit farther apart, that could do the trick. Reason being, I think the watery trenches that the coaster dips down into could be a real draw and focal point. So again, Otter Salad is re-explaining that point that we were saying earlier, that these trenches, we should be allowed to look into these, which I think is a really good, valuable point. We should be allowed to look into these, and maybe these slightly more boring ones can be the tighter ones, and let these be a bit more visually open, if not, physically open, because they are going into the trench, and we're always going to have that feature. And then we've got Ball Pit Warrior, and another great builder who works with like NCSO, all this sort of stuff, really availed themselves in Head-to-Head 10. So another really good member of our community. I'm with Big P, but mostly on the colour choices. I think the texture noise doesn't help. There's a couple of accents that drag your eyes all over the screen. I think the composition and shaping is wonderful, and understand you building these on stream for people to learn. Thanks for what you're doing, Sammy. You're very welcome, Ball Pit Warrior. You're very welcome indeed. So that became a bit of a dialogue there whilst I was gone and reflecting on what posix was saying, which is really interesting. But also they were sharing the same sentiment, if in different words and different ways. We should open up this trench and we should move this structure, which nobody really said, oh it's bad, get rid of it. They said it's too good to be near this, which should be the focal point. So either we move this focal point to maybe over here, or we do something about the fact that they're stacked. They didn't really give any suggestions, but I'm thinking maybe we can move it. We can definitely move it. Let's see if we can, just for experiment alone, let's go in here, save track design with scenery, select nearby scenery. Wow, that's done an amazing job of capturing everything we need it to. And regarding the cohesion, I think that that's something that's going to come out in the wash. I think the more that we move on, the more we're going to refine everything, and those fears will be abated. But what we're not going to do is ignore that advice. We're going to keep it in mind. We're going to think people found it to lack cohesion. And at the end of the day, these are the people who are going to be enjoying the work at the end. So we can't just disregard their opinion. If we disregard their opinion, we're just going to make something they enjoy less. And that's definitely not what we want to do. Instead, we listen to what they're saying. We don't instantly do everything that they say. We take it on board and we assimilate it into our perspective moving forward. We add it to our toolbox. Our way of viewing this park is now more developed than it was before. I hope that this little discussion that we've had here can make you less fearful of criticism, because criticism it's scary. If someone you look up to comes up to you and says, hey, I think you can do better, that can be a bit like embarrassing, can't it? Think, oh God, I've really messed up here. But it is an opportunity that isn't even in disguise. It's staring you right in the face, flapping its arms, saying, hey, there's things we can improve, and what's more, someone that we really respect has just handed it right to us. And if you're very lucky, like me, multiple people can come and reiterate that point, again, reinforcing that idea, saying, hey, this is a broad consensus we have here. And that is something that you get from a great community. So there it is, guys. When you're part of a community that is so historied as New Element, there are a ton of perspectives, so I can't recommend it enough, to be honest. Hop over, make yourself an account. We've got a Discord as well. You've got to get over there, guys. You simply must. This, as far as I'm aware, is our entire batch of free roaming handymen. And because there's a train going across the track, they are patiently waiting for that train to move. But all the trains are pulling into the station. So where can they go? So they're stuck there now. Fascinating. Do you think we should release them? Let's see how it looks. Oh. That feels like they're multiplying. It's like looking at a petri dish time lapse or something. That's kind of gross. Should we drown them? So here is another draft of the inverted coaster. It's very subtly different. It's a bit more obvious as we look down here. But over here, what I've done is split the difference in between the inclined turn and the flat turn, and done a upwards helix into a downwards helix. And you can just subtly tell the difference here where they meet, where it's like it's going up just a little bit and then it's going back down. And I think that's a really good compromise given the situation. And then of course we've just missed the other part, but do not worry, another train is going to be along in a second. I wanted to preserve this separation here so that we could have a really nice backdrop for this loop, and then it enter into this back area and it's like a completely different things happening. I think we want to turn this into more trenchy as well, a bit more like Nemesis. So this drops down into here. This is all stuff we're familiar with, but I've added in a final helix here. And this was quite a challenge to reach this point, because initially I had another big turn up into this corkscrew, and then I was trying to fit a helix in, but it was way too much in such a small space, and I just kept experimenting. I don't know whether I've kept any of that footage of me experimenting, but as you can imagine, it's a little bit boring. It's just me trying and trying and trying and trying and trying. And we've seen a lot of that process already, so I'm not going to bore you with me trying to get one specific thing when we can just cut to the chase after having shown all the other trials that we've been through in trying to design this ride. So I'm fairly happy with where this ride is standing right now. You guys tell me what you think. I think we're going to be able to get a really nice interaction across here, maybe then under here. Let's do our little thing that we like to do, where we just experiment a little bit, and we can do this. Hello? Give it back to me, please. Give me back control. And then we can go, oh my goodness, we can't go underneath. Heartbreaking. So what we will do is, we'll do something, oh goodness, we'll experiment a little bit like this. And then we'll go whoop, like that. And then we can, oh, inverted track. You're so huge. You are so massive. So we could do something like that. This looks a bit funky as it stands right now, but once we've landscaped this a bit more, this could look really natural and just be a great path to send in that direction, especially if we're having like a dividing line along here. But yes, I'm really enjoying this layout. This isn't the end of its development life, of course. I think that the main thing that we're going to be doing is dropping it into the ground more, especially down in these areas, and making the trench aspects more significant, just as we've done over here, to be honest, and really dramatized when it's going up and dropping down, and the water and stuff like that. I don't think it's going to be watery. I think it is going to be, like I've said, 50 millionth time, like Nemesis in the UK. Yeah, this layout's really cool. I think once we've sort of added all of those secondary and tertiary elements, it will absolutely rip. Imagine like walking under here and then seeing this helix going up here. That'd be really, really cool. And I think that the best thing about like a coaster dipping into a trench underneath a path and then like going over a path is that it's a very dynamic moment. It's got the lows, it goes through the trench and then we're soaring over the top of the path. There's just no replacement for that. And that really is a fundamental of guest level interaction, isn't it? You go above, you go below. You've not got very many other options there. So if that's something that you're concerned with, and for like a contrast, this one is much less concerned with that interaction. It's got the interaction like here, it goes like through and underneath the queue and then over the path and stuff. But then it allows these to be airy and swoopy and not really bothered by anything. And same over here. It's in this big area. I'm really growing to love this little stylistic area we've started building for ourselves. The moment I started adding these rocks in, for some reason I really felt very grounded in this area. And of course, we've got to love the Sunday drivers. We've got to love Sunday drivers. It's one of my favourite rides in the park, this. It's so simple, but it's so nestled in there with this ride. It just feels so very natural. And you can't replace that feeling. Another thing I want to talk about is what we did last week with the station for The Lost Voyage. Now, all in all, I'm really proud of this. There's just one thing right now that's really bugging me, is how we had to compromise here, because I wanted to have like a queue that interacted more with this area, like I feel like it would. And that landed us with a entrance which was on this side. And I had to raise up the land because I didn't want to show the kiosk. And oh, goodness gracious me, it all sort of compounded together for something that I'm not entirely happy with. And I would like to widen up this area to give more of a view for here, like I was talking about last episode. And I think the best way to do that is a simple one. The oldest trick in the book, the old switcheroo. what we're going to do is we're going to send this queue underneath and over to back where it was. And what we can do here, we've got a couple of options. If we're so guest first minded, we could maybe have this be like an overspill queue and have the main queue just go as it did and go straight to here. But I don't think we're bothered in this series, are we? We're not really bothered about what the actual peeps are feeling. They're going to be happy either way, and we're not looking for the best possible way for them to reach the path. What we'll do is we'll just send it under here, and it'll just be a really long queue. And you know what? They're going to be pleased about it. They're in the best theme park they've ever been in. So I'll jump back to you once I've done that so I can demonstrate what on earth I was talking about. It took like 1 second. I don't know why. I don't know why I turned the recording off. But I want to just give us a bit more breathing room in this area. For the underground, all I did was I just went zoop, straight down, and then I literally stopped it here, and then I built from this direction to meet it here. And it's as simple as that. It doesn't have to be complicated, everyone. Let's pull this down a bit to give ourselves a bit more of a favourable angle for seeing this stuff. And we can still have drama here, that's no problem at all. We can still negotiate with this necessary thing we've got here where the path needs room to go underground. And if we have to change it, we'll just change it. Everything's fine. So sorry, I feel like it's a whirlpool of me just spinning the camera around here. I do apologise. And let's rebuild our nice little station that we had here. I'm already much happier with it. And then we'll put this part here again. Very nice! Excelente! And then if we pull these parts away a little bit, I think that'll do us a world of favours. Nice. And then in this part next to the station here, we can have some foliage here. So let's add this in here. All right. And now that we're coming back to this old word, I don't think we've used it in a while. Layer separation. We can get a carrot in there. Isn't that a thrill? Oh, we can't see the bottom of the carrot. So something we can do with this carrot plant. What I always do is in the parks in which I hack, you can drag this, similar to how you can drag it up, you can also drag it underground. And just the texture of the top of this is very unique. It's a different texture and colour to this one. So it's a nice little variation, great for underbrush. And also in this situation here. So maybe what we'll start doing is we'll make the most of that carrot in some areas. Let's see how it looks like this, and we'll do a slightly deeper one so we can experiment. If we do that, we can see the little bit of the orange, but maybe if we do like red dirt in there, does it maybe look like a planter, maybe? And then of course you can do this and drop it all the way in like that. And there's the different rotations as well, guys. Hello? I just clicked, and if you just keep like moving your mouse, it'll spin around them. It's the same with the trees as well. And you can pick one that you like. So that's something that we have to bear in mind. Something else that we need to do is just get a bit more colour into this side, because I used this side as the thumbnail, and we've got the red, and we've got like the sailcloth colour, but it's not really popping colour-wise, so I think we need to add in an accent colour. Sailcloth with red, because we've got the red queue, but maybe we want to contrast with the queue a little bit. And what should we do in that situation? A little bit of blue is actually kind of doing something for me there. It is a bit clashy, but I don't hate it. Getting those splashes of contrast colour is really valuable. It's these colours that are going to add height, they're going to add drama to your work, and that's what we want. I'm being so serious right now. Where is my carrot? Carrot? Did I delete the carrot? Yes, you did, Samuel. You're trying to move the camera, I think, and you...
Just get a bit more colour.
You killed it off. It was you.
Just get a bit more colour.
It's almost like you did it on purpose. Why would you do that to me? Trust nobody, not even yourself. You cannot keep the carrot away. You cannot keep the carrot at bay. Is this a good carrot candidate? Candidates? Carrot in date? That's cheeky. Just using the corner of a fence object to block the carrotness from it. And you know what? You guys would never know that had happened if I hadn't done it on camera, so who's the real winner here? Definitely me. And then from this direction onwards, we can kind of go crazy with it because it's not getting in the way of this angle here. I really like that I've scooped this out and given ourselves a little bit of room to breathe over here. Maybe doing that even adds to that. We don't want to drop too much foliage here that sort of gets in the way, but we can do some thin foliage. Is that a nice spread there? That looks awesome. When do you ever see that sort of texture in NCSO? That is really cool. Man, it took us a long time to come around to the carrot object, and we don't have to suffer through seeing the evil carroty part of the object as well. And we'll maybe in this corner we'll have maybe this blue that we were mucking around with. Maybe this blue will do us some favors. That's nice. That is very nice indeed. What? Put the fear of God into me. I thought he just like phased into the wall like a cat and fallen into the void, but it's because he thinks there's a valid path there. You get over here. You gonna behave? Nice. And now we've got a bit of drama and oh, sorry to disturb your revving. I've developed this area a little bit, and I saw an opportunity here for some back of house. For the uninitiated, back of house is just all the stuff that you don't see. All the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, we call that back of house. And this may be a bit over engineered this, so maybe we could get rid of some stuff like that. That feels a bit better, doesn't it? Just a little bit more simple. Got these as like water pumps, bringing all this water up here to go down. Maybe we could have this sort of connect to a river that's going this way. There's nothing stopping us doing that. And then maybe this could become, you know, like a water purification thing or something along those lines. So there's some stuff we can work with there. And we've got, of course, like a big shutter door and just like a regular human being access door. I really enjoy putting this sort of stuff in because it makes it feel very... Even when we're doing something that's quite fantasy, would a park truly go to these lengths for something that not everyone can see? Maybe not, but we can see it, and that's what we're primarily worried about. We're making something that is enjoyable from all angles and not too encumbered by one genre, not too encumbered by realism to be broadly applicable. So we've got a little bit of a realism detail here. We've got more of the heightened, it's not really fantasy, is it? But it's more semi-realism, you know, fantasy realism, that if we had infinite money, which is what this park is really, isn't it? It's the dream of Mr. Fundamental to make this theme park to thrill and entertain everybody. Alright, there's a fella idling his bright green car outside, but we're not going to let that stop us. We've never let it stop us before. Sirens, revving engines, dirt bikes, we work through all of that. I've been ruminating on the issues that were pointed out earlier, and I think the best course of action, and the idea that I like the most, is deleting this for now. Bear in mind, Don't get too worried. We do have it preserved over here. We have the option to come back to it. We don't have to come back to it. We can maybe put it somewhere else. But what I'm thinking we're going to do is we're going to reinterpret the idea in a different location and see what we can actually do with this area in a different way. Before we can even attempt that, we've got to delete this. So we'll do it together. It's a sad day to delete some of our hard work. Gone but not forgotten. Goodbye, Creep of Coven Cove. May your memory live long in the hearts of all those your spirit touched. Yes, I am available for weddings, funerals, bat and bar mitzvahs, the whole shebang. So here we are, we've got this prime real estate. What are we going to do with it? That is the big question on everyone's lips right now. What I'm thinking is maybe we could turn this area up here, like bring this path across here. I want to reinterpret this bridge situation. I don't necessarily have beef with it, it's just a bit like funny with the angles and stuff. So perhaps we could have a more direct mirror of this over here. I'm thinking something that could help us out pretty immediately is maybe just starting the ascent upwards just a bit sooner. Maybe up onto this plaza here, we could be going up onto it, and these areas could be like, there he is! What are you doing? You're just literally just scooting backwards and forwards. So yes, we can make this plaza just a bit higher. I think that would be a really, really simple way of getting effective results there. Let's give that a go and see what happens. Why are handymen just magnetically attracted to wherever I'm trying to get some work done? That's what I want to know. Can you see how much less violent the transitions are there? Can you see how much like smoother everything feels? This is, of course, we've done this as speculation. This isn't nearly the finishing point for this, but hopefully this can give you don't look at that, don't look at it. I was just specking out the size of it. You've got to forgive me for a lot of things this episode, okay? You can see what they were getting at here. This is much clearer. You see this big swoop in. This now becomes like a point of enticement where people can see from here because I've lifted this up a bit. With not got something blocking here. Why are there so many handymen? We've not got this sightline blocked here, and also we've raised up this sort of decision plaza. Like, are we going to go down into the kids area? Probably not, right? If you're thrill seeking. Or it could be that sort of vibe where you are looking at it through that lens of, are we thrill seekers or are we looking to have a less stressful day today? And if you are a thrill seeker, the perfect thing is on the horizon up here, this huge flying coaster. I'm thinking maybe should we do this side to match this side, because what I do like is these fences across here. That feels really cool for some reason. Feels very appropriate, and we can just do the same sort of like sheer wall with rock instead of this more like gentle. It's not very gentle obviously, but it's more gentle than on this side. I think it'd be fun to mirror this element here because this is a fun texture to have. So now we've got to think, what do we actually want this area to be? Is it just like a path? There's absolutely nothing wrong with it being a path. Maybe we could have like a small ride here, and then we could have this as gardens as well. It's a tricky one, isn't it? What could we put here? Because we don't want to put a building here because we've just taken away a building. Maybe we should have a bit more fountainage, but we can't put fountainage there. That's the real issue. So maybe we shall leave that for now. Or we could have this water come more into this area. But I like having this able to come across here. I think that really works. We'd had like path here earlier because I was thinking maybe we're going to have a building here. Then I was speculating maybe we could put one here and have this platform be like a part of this building. But I think the thing that we really want to preserve is a way for people coming this way to just see the pirate ship straight up. You can see it over the top of this building, I'd say, even from here, but the clearer the better, I think. So maybe even turning this building 90 degrees. So instead of being like that, we have it like this instead. And then we can get rid of this part. So we preserve this sightline, but then maybe stuff from over here. I don't really feel like it's bothering anyone from over here, because like we say, we can still see the like crow's nest over the top of anything here from this position, I would think. Let me know what you guys think of that. Do we just not put any building here and maybe put some like low impact flat ride maybe? Or maybe have this path connect around here. Let me know what you think, because it really is anyone's game at this point. I feel like it's got like new energy now that we've followed some of that advice people were giving us. I feel like it's really breathed something into this area for me. And already I'm appreciating this more. So here we are, I've developed it a little bit more. I've put a bit more foliage in to give a bit more of an impression of how we think it should be. I don't know that I like I think we might delete these, because the symmetry is just a bit too much for me there. But having one there certainly does something, and maybe we could have a different feature over here, which is a bit more to our taste. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Of course, it's not finished. It's not like the final end point of what it's going to look like. But if you guys are like, ugh, big mistake, there should be a building there for whatever reason, maybe you prefer the mystery, maybe the just personal preference, I'd love to hear your perspective as well. And maybe reading the comments that we read earlier can help you like better develop your way of feeding back. But there you go, a new day, a new approach. Let's see where this takes us. And that is where we will leave it this episode. Got a lot of interesting stuff done. It may seem like we've taken one step forward and 2 steps back, but there's really no point taking any steps forward if they're in the wrong direction. So think of it less as losing progress and more as getting back on track. Let me know what you think of this new area we're trying to tool here. I'm thinking it's going to develop pretty quickly, so there's lots to look forward to there. I'm curious to see what you guys think about maybe having a few more like realistic areas. Is that something that we'd like to see, some of that back area stuff? It's not something I've been really focusing on. It's something that I would normally pay more diligence towards in my own work, but for getting the fundamentals down, there's stuff that's more important when you're starting out, isn't there? So I don't really have any regrets either way on that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys think of this episode, because we've tackled a pretty heavy thing here, and I hope it's gone some way to legitimize my own feedback when I give it, when I take criticism. Because you can imagine some people, they might be given advice and they're incapable of receiving it. Those are the people who you kind of want to be a bit more wary of, just because if you're going to dish it out, you've got to be able to take it. It's as simple as that. So I will love you and leave you, and I will see you next Saturday. Looking forward to seeing what you guys think.